Hey guys, this is AwesomeJohn22 coming at you today with another review. And I was going to make this a Versus review, but honestly, I couldn't find another figure in my collection that I felt deserved to be compared to the epitome of Generation 1 Optimus Prime updates. Classics Optimus Prime, the best Optimus Prime of Not So Fast. I am Optimus Prime. No. I am Optimus Prime. Huh. Well, looks like we have a new challenger. Which means there's only one thing left to do. Redo the intro! So yeah, it would seem that despite my strong belief that Classics Optimus Prime is the best, we actually have a contender for the spot in the form of Transformers Generations Combiner Wars Optimus Prime, who has done the unprecedented and shown up today for the review, challenging Classics Optimus Prime for the belt. This being a metaphorical belt. I don't actually make little belts for my figures anymore. So let's give these guys both a proper look by, of course, getting them transformed up into their vehicle modes through the magic of jump cuts. And here we have Voyager class Classics Optimus Prime and Voyager class Generations Combiner Wars Optimus Prime transformed up into their vehicle modes. And as you can see, both are clearly meant to be Optimus Prime. From their decor to their design, they both evoke Optimus Prime without directly duplicating the look of the original Generation 1 vehicle. We have two flat-nosed trucks here, starting with Classics Optimus Prime. We can see he has a bit more of a slant here on the windshield, and he does have this raised section here, and the blue does continue up into the cab. On the back, you can see he is relatively kibble-free, and he does have these smokestacks here, which are clearly made from his guns. And while that's clever, at the same time it kind of bums me out because he doesn't get proper smokestacks. Overall, though, very good looking. He has all kinds of silver on him, on his rims, on the sides of the vehicle, on the top of the vehicle. It's just everywhere. And as you can see, he does have the old classic rubbing symbol. However, that means that is literally the only Autobot symbol on this entire figure, which I think kind of sucks. He rolls just fine, and as you can see, he is pretty much the exact same size as his counterpart here. And I wish I still had Voyager class movie Galvatron on hand so I could demonstrate that he's about the same size as Galvatron as well, which is pretty nice. Taking a look at Combiner Wars Optimus Prime, you can see he is a lot flatter in the front here, and he's just a lot bulkier. His cab seems bigger, seems taller overall. He has taller windshields and this really wide grille rather than the narrow grille that we know from past iterations of Optimus Prime. He does have proper smokestacks molded right in and painted. However, and it will be a little harder to tell here than on the retail version of the figure because I did do some painting, which is not quite finished yet. But he was missing the red paint apps here, as well as the paint apps for the windows, coming back on this section here. And while I'm sure that repro labels will at some point fill that in, it really bums me out. And so, where I would have given this vehicle mode higher marks than this one, despite the poor weapon storage and the obvious kibble here in the back, it actually kind of evens them out, which is a bit of a bummer. Because I honestly, as much as I like this figure, I kind of like this vehicle mode a little bit better, which is ironic, because anyone who's been following the Combiner Wars line, the news for the line, knows that this Optimus Prime is actually a repaint of a specific other truck that fits kind of more with the Combiner motif, and we all know who I'm talking about. And I'm not going to mention him by name because, well, he's not out for a while, and I do plan on reviewing him once he comes out, so I kind of want it to be a surprise for anyone who doesn't know. But that's beside the point. Overall, I don't really think either one of these vehicle modes is any better than the other. So let's go ahead and get these guys transformed and check out their robot modes instead. We'll start with Classics Optimus Prime. And you have this protrusion on the top. I'm not quite sure what they call them. But it is not attached. It is removable. But when you remove it, you reveal his head, which is kind of a bummer. And typically you would remove this for transformation. I, however, am going to show you my personal transformation scheme, which leaves it on there. What we're going to do, we are going to first take these panels on both sides and rotate them back. And that frees up the hip joints so that we can lower the legs. Next, because I always forget to do it, we're going to fold these two panels up to make his knees. Next, we are going to come here to the front of the figure, and we're going to separate these panels like so. Just kind of loosen everything up. That's going to give us clearance to start bringing this forward, and at the same time we are going to rotate this, as you can see there. Do that on both sides, which is going to free up this back area here. We're going to lift this up, like so. Come up here, raise the head, and then take this whole assembly here, bring it up, and then bring the head down to rest there. Next, we're going to rotate this section here and just kind of leave it up like so. Because what we're going to do next, rotate everything out of the way, bring these wheels up as well first. Then we are just going to take this entire section and rotate it around. And put the truck grill on the back and put this little fake grill here on the front. That's going to allow us to bring this section down, flush with the back, and then come here, rotate his shoulders forward, and then come down here and rotate his arms around into place, flip out his fists, fold around like so, fold up these panels, flush with his arms, come down here, flatten the feet, split the legs, stand him up straight, and there we have Classics Voyager class Optimus Prime. And he looks pretty good. He doesn't look quite like Optimus Prime from the old cartoon, but this is from back when the Classics/Universe class Generations line was doing a really good job of updating the looks of the figures while still evoking the original iterations. And I really like that, and I really miss it, and I wish they'd go back to it a bit more. But I understand with the current iteration of the line being based heavily on comic book characters that are based heavily on G1, and with combiners, with the whole Scramble City-esque aesthetic to them, I understand this isn't the best time to go back to that. I just hope they go back to it eventually. Because this guy is great. This guy looks great. He looks dynamic with his actual windshields being his chest. He does have the fake abdomen, which kind of bothers me, but overall, he is just very good looking, with all kinds of detail everywhere, with great vibrant yellow paint breaking everything up, some gray, some silver. Overall, just very, very nice, with a very, very nice head sculpt, as you can see, with some great light piping, and a really cool silver faceplate. And of course, we saw from looking at his smokestacks that he does come with a gun, which I will show you how to transform now. First, we are going to take panels, fold it up into the main section of the gun, and we are just going to fold them out. Next, we are going to collapse the gun in on itself like so, then bring up the handle. And now we have this little submachine gun-esque thing that doesn't resemble any weapon that Optimus Prime has ever used. In fact, his blaster in the show always reminded me more of something akin to a shotgun than a machine gun, which I like. I like the idea of that. So I'm kind of bummed that this is what we got. We do, however, get another weapon, so let's plug that into his hand, and come around to the back, and pop this piece off. And while I think I like the look of him a bit better, with it on his back, kind of making this back shield thing, it doesn't look bad like this. And you can, I mean, this can kind of be a shield, I guess, if you can figure out a way to have him hold it, because it is kind of shield shaped. But really, this is supposed to be a gun. So what we're going to do is we're going to bend it like so. Next, we're going to come here and take this section and fold it out that much, which will allow us to collapse this in the rest of the way, which will allow us to bring that up and fold out the nozzle. And you see now there's this big shotgun-esque piece that he can hold in either hand, and he looks very good with that, and I like it. But I like it as kind of this secret alternate weapon that he has, where after he runs out of ammo with this thing, he reaches onto his back and yanks the shotgun off and blasts somebody's head off, and it's possible I have too much time on my hands. But he does have two weapons. I just wish one of them looked more like the classic Optimus Prime weapon, because Optimus Prime's weapon at this point in time is almost as iconic as Optimus Prime himself. In terms of articulation, Optimus Prime is quite good. He does have full range of motion in his hips and a full bend at the knee, as well as a rotation above the knee. His arms can go all the way out, can rotate a full 360, and do bend at a soft ratchet at the elbow. He has a waist rotation, though it is limited by the kibble on his back, and he does have the ability to look around. He can look down, but it's on the transformation hinge, but he can do the full exorcist twist. So overall, pretty good, about on par with current figures, and I really dig it. Moving on to Combiner Wars Optimus Prime, what we're going to do first is we're going to remove his weapons and set them off to the side. Next, we're going to come here and we're just going to kind of loosen up his legs, which typically tab in right here via these tabs. Just loosen them up, kind of get them out of the way. Next, we're going to take these panels and just lower them down like so, allowing us to bring these sections down and split this whole front area, which lets us rotate these panels around, plug them into the sides of the torso, rotate the arms and bring them back onto this hinge, which is the hinge for his basic robot mode elbow, because he does have a few hinges there. And now we have his arms and his torso done, as you can see. Bring the camera up a bit. We are going to bring this whole section down. You can see the classic front vents. They go on Optimus Prime's legs. Bring his feet up. And there's a joint here in his abdomen. We are just going to lower this whole section down via that joint. Lower his legs into place, like so. Come around on the back, and there's this panel here which does a lot of different things. I like to just fold it up flush with this backpack section. I feel that's the least intrusive. And then we come up here and we press on either side of this panel, which brings out his head. Straighten him up, and there we have Generations Combiner Wars Optimus Prime, who also looks pretty spiffy. Zooming in on him, we can see he doesn't have the yellow that his Classics counterpart has, but he has way more silver, as well as some metallic yellow, and this slightly metallic blue-green, silver-ish color in his chest on his fake windshields, which kind of bums me out, but I'll deal with it. He has quite a small head for the size of his torso, but it is a very nice head. It's a bit less angular than his counterparts, but I really dig it. No light piping, but a much bigger silver mouthpiece. And you can see his smokestacks do end up in the correct spot, and he does have multiple Autobot symbols, which are stickers, which means they were attached before I opened the figure, which means I didn't get to pick where they were, and there's greater potential for them being placed in the wrong spot, But overall, I think they were placed fairly well. And overall, this guy does a better job of replicating the look of Generation 1 Optimus Prime than Classics Optimus Prime does, which I also really like. I like reinterpretations of characters, but I also really like the original versions of characters, and I feel they both have a place in modern Transformers. Taking a look at this guy's weapons, he does come with 2 guns, one of which is this kind of small little engine block gun that is not very impressive. The other is also meant to look like part of his engine block, but from the side it looks like Optimus Prime's gun. And I think that's a brilliant way of dealing with it. It looks like part of the vehicle, but at the same time it looks like part of his gun. It looks like his gun, his classic gun. And for those of you who are wondering, yes, Classics Optimus Prime can hold the gun. Just FYI. And of course, Generations Optimus Prime can also hold both guns. Their handles are a bit long, but that's necessary considering that his hands are a bit low compared to his arms. Yeah, there you go, you can kind of see it. So he needs the extra length of the handle to be able to hold them at all, and he looks pretty good with them in his hands, kind of dual wielding. And of course, I'm sure you've seen in other reviews that the weapons can combine into this kind of uber rifle thing that is just silly. Yeah, he does have comparable articulation to Classics Optimus Prime. He does do a full 360 at the shoulders, and his arms can move in and out at very strong ratchets. He does rotate above the elbow and bend 90 degrees at the elbow. His head, if I get it in frame, is on a ball joint, but it's quite limited and really only allows him to do the 360 exorcist twist, rather. He does have a ratchet in his hips. He bends at the knees and rotates just above the knees. And he does have waist articulation that is completely unimpeded, unlike his counterpart. But overall, he has the same points of articulation as Classics Optimus Prime. Looking at these guys side by side, you can see a clear difference in their size. Classics Optimus Prime is quite a bit shorter than his counterpart, almost a head and a half shorter in fact. Showing them both next to another modern Voyager class, you can see that, well, they all average out to being pretty comparable heights next to each other, but I think Generations Optimus Prime fits in scale a little bit better. But I don't really know. I mean, we have Silverbolt here as our comparison, and Silverbolt is quite a large robot, so kinda, I don't know, go with whichever one you feel fits best. Not that Transformers fans are really well known for caring about scale in the first place, but that pretty much covers everything about these guys, and so far, my opinions are pretty, I don't know, mixed about both of them. I like them both, but there are things I dislike about both of them. I think they both do a very good job, but at the same time I feel like they both do a very good job for very different reasons. There is, however, one more thing that Generations Combiner Wars Optimus Prime can do, so let's go ahead and take a look at that. Well, it looks like Classics Optimus Prime has surrendered, but we really don't allow that here, so let's get him back in here and get him transformed up, because despite the fact that our big friend over here can combine with other Transformers, that doesn't necessarily make him the better Optimus. These figures are quite different from one another in their own right, and yet at the same time they're meant to represent the same exact character. What we end up with here are two perfectly valid iterations of Generation 1 Optimus Prime as a modern toy. We have one which doesn't transform much like Optimus Prime that we know, and we have one that does. We have one that has a completely new look in robot mode and completely new weapons. We have one that's a little bit closer to the classic We have one who doesn't really have any other extra features, at least not officially. And we have one who can combine with several other robots to make a completely new figure. And at the same time homaging one of the cooler Japanese versions of Optimus Prime. But do any of those things make either one better than the other? And that is the question we have to answer here today, and I say no. While I miss the old classics aesthetic of taking a figure and creating something new that is similar but not the same, I don't think that this version of Optimus Prime is any better than this one because of it, because the new Combiner Wars Optimus Prime is not meant to be Optimus Prime. Yes, they did a very good job of redressing this mold to be Optimus Prime, but the fact of the matter is, our friend over here is supposed to be a completely different character. This is one of the first times, if not the first time, that Optimus Prime has come to be through a repaint of a black version of Optimus Prime, rather than the other way around. So while I'm very happy to have our Combiner Wars friend over here, and while I'm very pleased with him, I'm really looking forward to his Decepticon counterpart more. And we will see him soon, as the next wave is really not that far off, and I do plan on picking up all the figures from that wave, just as I picked up the figures from this one. But again, that is beside the point. Which of these figures best represents Optimus Prime? Neither of them do. And that's not to say that either one of them is bad. I think I've done a pretty good job of explaining why both of them are very, very good versions of Optimus Prime. But the fact of the matter is, Optimus Prime has been represented as a character so many times with very little difference in characterization that I don't feel that any figure that resembles Optimus Prime even slightly does a bad job of representing him. Because Optimus Prime is such a changing character while at his core remaining the same. So despite that our classics friend over here clearly felt a bit inadequate seeing Ultra Prime, I think they're both very, very good, and that neither one comes out the winner here. Don't hurt me. However, there is no disputing the fact that Classics Optimus Prime is now a very old figure. This figure came out years ago, at the very beginning of the Classics line's lifespan. Whereas Combiner Wars Optimus Prime is brand new. So, if you don't mind one over the other, as I myself don't, get this guy. He's here. He's in stores now. You're not going to have to pay huge markups for him. Yes, he has his flaws. There are the missing paint apps that I mentioned that still really bother me. Whereas this guy is just paint ups out the butt and awesome. But this guy's not bad. He's, in fact, quite a lot of fun. And I am so glad I got him. I almost didn't. But I'm really glad I did, because I really like him. So, Optimus Prime, you tie with Optimus Prime. And therefore, both of these figures come highly recommended. And that's really all I have to say about that, guys. I hope you enjoyed the video, because I certainly enjoyed making it. If you did, please help me out, like and subscribe, and leave a comment down below if you feel so inclined. In the description down below, you will find links to all the things I'm working on, including a link to my collection video, which will be updated as soon as the last few new figures that I have ordered come in. But until then, please check it out, and if you see anything in it that you would like me to review, let me know and I will see what I can do. This has been Awesome John 22, and I will talk to you guys later.